continuing team coverage on Hurricane Irma.
The latest advisory just coming in.
And this is what we know so far. Irma has killed at least 3 people and seriously hurt 2 others in the Caribbean.
Here in South Florida, all Broward residents living east of US 1 are under mandatory evacuation orders ahead of Irma starting tomorrow at noon.
And Miami-Dade County has ordered an evacuation for people living in zones A and B, and all tourists and residents in the Keys must also evacuate.
Good evening. We have live team coverage tonight with all the information you need to know from all of South Florida's counties to effects there in the Caribbean.
But we begin with your weather authority and dynamic duo, hurricane specialist Max Mayfield, and also our chief certified meteorologist Betty Davis. And Betty, any changes with that 11 o'clock advisory?
No, not really. If you were hoping for some weakening, perhaps, it is holding steady with maximum sustained winds of 185 miles per hour, gusts to 225 miles per hour, pressure 916 millibars, moving west-northwest at 16 miles per hour. The center of circulation 85 miles north-northwest now of San Juan, Puerto Rico. So we're going to continue to watch the core of this system get farther away from San Juan and all of Puerto Rico as we're moving into tomorrow. But it is still so large that some of the clouds, the rain still impacting some of those areas. And I do want to mention that the hurricane warning now being lifted for the Virgin Islands, British and U.S. as the system pulls away. Slowly but surely, we're going to note the conditions improving there. Dominican Republic, though, you can see it upstream, and as this system continues to be on the move, it will have some impacts there, although the core is forecast to stay just offshore of that north coast of Hispaniola, remaining a Category 5 from Thursday into Friday as it moves between Cuba and parts of the Bahamas, and then perhaps by Saturday evening down to Category 4 status, and at that point it's getting closer to South Florida. Saturday night into Sunday, our conditions going downhill as we deal with the wrath of Hurricane Irma. As you're noting, within this projected path, it is still forecast to move over or near South Florida this weekend. So we should certainly be making the necessary preps. Of course, the new advisory just coming in from the National Hurricane Center. Max and I had, about 2 seconds to look over the new information. So let's check in with Max to see what he has.
Okay, we still keep looking for some reason for this to weaken, and if you look at the water vapor, there's no dry air around there that we can see. If we look at the sea surface temperatures, actually this is the ocean heat content, warm deep water. This is the yellow, oranges, and reds in the path of the hurricane here. That is very favorable for strengthening. Or at least maintaining the strength. The only thing the Hurricane Center noted was that there was a lot of lightning from the aircraft reported in the core of the hurricane, and sometimes, this is still an area of research, but sometimes that indicates future weakening. So, but that still is in the short term anyway. We've got a long time before it gets here. One thing to note on the cone, it slows down on Friday and Saturday and doesn't really pick up till after it moves beyond South Florida here. That means it's going to be a longer event than Andrew. Andrew is moving much faster than this is going to be moving when it moves over us. If we look at those ensembles, this is from the last run of the global model from the United States. There's still possible scenarios. They all turn it to the north, some to the east, some over Florida, and a couple still off the west coast. There's still uncertainty, and that's just a pretty sharp right turn. Right turn when it gets up close to us. It's going to be a nail biter no matter what. The most likely arrival time of the tropical storm force winds is still Saturday evening, and so nothing magical is going to happen then. The winds are going to start blowing before that, but the best guess is they'll get up to sustained tropical storm force by then.
All right, and right now those tropical storm force winds, they still do extend out from that center upward to 185 miles, and the hurricane force winds 50 miles out from the center. So I just want to make note of that. And also the northwest Bahamas under a hurricane watch, and by tomorrow South Florida could be under a hurricane watch. Not yet though, but we'll get there eventually. I
did look at the forecast for the radius of strong tropical storm force winds. And as it gets closer to us, the forecast right now has that expanding a little bit towards the northwest, which would be towards us. So,
right.
And those winds can take some trees down and power lines. So the farther east this goes, that's what we'd like to see. But we haven't really seen it yet. They eased it eastward just a little bit, but not much.
We look for every little nugget of hope we can find, but at this point, we know we need to be prepared for something major. Lori and Calvin.